Welcome to Business as a Magical Practice, where your business is the vehicle for your self-integration and soul evolution. My name is Sam Garcia, and I'm the founder of Dirty Alchemy Digital Marketing. And I'll be guiding you through how you can use your business as a spiritual practice and what magical businesses are doing to hit their goals and change the world. Together, we'll be relating the mystical to the world of business so that our work can unite spirit and matter, shadow and light, conscious and unconscious. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a very special guest, master coach and best-selling author, Dr. Carolyn Elliott. And for those of you that don't know her, I'll give a little intro. Dr. Carolyn Elliott is the author of Existential Kink, Unmask Your Shadow and Embrace Your Power, and the cult favorite creativity book, Awaken Your Genius. Through her online program, she's helped thousands of people dramatically transform their lives using shadow integration and applied occult philosophy. She leads the Game of Sovereign's Existential Kink Coach training program and speaks at events and conferences internationally. So hello, Carolyn.
Hi, Sam. Oh, such a nice introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited you're here, excited to talk to you. We've been working together for, I think, like 18 months now, and just helping with marketing and in your program. So it's going to be fun, as we were talking about before, just to talk on a different level than like the day-to-day of your business.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, for all of those of you listening, you might not know Sam is a real genius. She's helped me out a great deal. So yes, I await your questions, Sam.
So for everyone listening, Carolyn has done a lot of podcast interviews. So I'm not going to go too far deep into her backstory because you can find that in a lot of other places. But please go listen to all of those. She has them highlighted on her Instagram. You can just find them in one of her highlights and go follow her there. Of course, she has shares a bunch of amazing resources. Buy her book, Existential Kink, get on our wait list for wealth. But today I really want to focus the questions on stuff that can be useful to the online business owner and, of course, for my own selfish pleasure. So, Carolyn, the name of the podcast is Business as a Magical Practice. And it's kind of with the idea that if you're a magical business owner, you already know that your spiritual practices, your magical practices impact your business. But this is through the lens that your actual business is a part of your magical practice. So I would love to hear your take on this and how you use business as a magical practice.
Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. So yes, I absolutely use business as magical practice. I think the essence of magic has to do with becoming, the art of becoming. There's my husband's last name is Kepher, which means becoming in ancient Egyptian. And one of the reasons why I love business so much is because I feel like it's an arena where your becoming is very grounded in your ability to do the thing, to sort of keep the respiration of money moving in and out in a wise enough fashion. And from us, of course, being in a service-based coaching, teaching business where we're just interacting with people a lot, it's been a huge journey of becoming more transparent, more consistent, more united in our truth, our message, in the validity and the usefulness of what we teach, because we stay in touch with our students and we get to see them through lots of iterations. I feel like I'm a bit sputtering vaguely right now because I've been recently overwhelmed with beauty that came to me through my business in connection with the Game of Sovereigns coach training program. I just had this absolutely dazzling fulfillment when 16 of them went through our final training weekend. And I saw the kind of progress that they'd made since last year. And I saw that they had this level of love for themselves that just wasn't there previously. And now they had it.
Wow.
And that I knew that it had come to them through their work with me, with each other. And I was flooded with so much joyful oxytocin. I felt like I did when I was giving birth to my daughter. My whole abdomen was having these contractions, like my body was trying to do contractions because I was so flooded with love. And so that experience, I think, has been life-altering for me, and all of it was a fruition of the business. None of it would have been possible without the business. None of it would have been possible without like the connections that I've woven through the business. So yes, I see it as absolutely inextricable from my life purpose, Taia's life purpose, our magical becoming, and our union with what we could call our eros or our will, just this like very magnetic force.
Since you're bringing up Taia, something I've been dying to ask you really is, how can you share anything about working with your husband and what sort of advice you have around that? And I'm totally asking for a friend, you know?
Yeah, totally, right? Well, the main thing is we've learned to, I would say 95% of the time when we have the option to have a real fight, instead we have a play fight. So we have these special voices that we talk to each other in that are actually quite terrifying. So like mine is like a wicked witch voice. So this is when he gets on my nerves, as he does, or like I get on his nerves, which happens 100 times a day. I'll just like turn to him and I'll be like, "Don't you look at me that way. I will eat your soul."
That's amazing. You clearly practice that a lot.
Yes, I do. So we do that. We just like growl at each other in our freaky ancient witch voices and play fight like bear cubs.
So what is the thought process behind that? What is that really untangling and releasing?
Well, just, you know, working close together with somebody that you're just so entwined with. There's a lot of vulnerability there and a lot of opportunity to get your feelings heard at any little thing. And so the play fighting is just sort of a way to get the tension out and to make conscious the dynamics that are there, like these dynamics of like sadistic desire to like punish and dynamics of desire to prove who's right and who's wrong. So sometimes I'll just look at him and I'll be like, "I am the writer and you are the wronger." Just so you know. And he'll be like, "I is the writer and you is the wronger." And then we just talk to each other in that way, and that just makes clear the actual content of the argument.
I love that. That's so good. I work with my husband on various projects, and I mean we both. He's a regenerative agriculture designer, and we live on a farm. And I work from home, so there's a lot of like crossover of our paths throughout the day, and which is amazing, but it can be intense when there's just a lot of time together without that release. And then if any tensions come up, it can be intense. So I love that concept of bringing this wicked play into it.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's murderously playful. I read somewhere Carl Jung said, he was like, it's a sign of psychological integration when you're able to completely, utterly love someone and absolutely hate them at the exact same time. He was like, that's how you know you're integrated. I was like, oh my gosh, I must be so integrated. So sometimes Ty and we'll hug each other and we'll be like, oh, I love you so much.
Oh my God, I love that. Okay, great. Glad it's supported by Carl Jung. That makes it even better. So another thing that you had mentioned in your response to my first question was how you've been in such a place of this overflow in your business, and I know that you have for a while, and overflow in love, overflow in financial wealth. I actually was curious to hear about your transition from more of hustle mode, or I don't know if I'm going to make it, or I'm barely getting by, to I have enough, and then into overflow. Like, was that uncomfortable? Was it like, oh yes, this is great? Or like, what was that?
Yeah, both very uncomfortable and very great. I mean, I don't think it had to be perhaps so uncomfortable, but my resistance to it has been strong. So it's been a lot of working through layers of resistance. I think the most fun is the overflow. Okay, so I'm going to brag a little bit.
Do it.
So I didn't, this is weird esoteric bragging. It's not like bragging in the real world. My weird esoteric brag is that I looked up my name in an English language gematria calculator, which is like, I don't know, important and weird Crowley things. So I was like, okay, let me find out the gematria of my name. So then it gives you a whole list of phrases that are associated, that add up. The letters in that name, in that phrase, add up to the same number that the letters in your name add up to. And they give you a selection of phrases basically from the works of Aleister Crowley, from the Book of the Law, from the King James Bible, and from some random Hermetic sources. It's all like completely random and arbitrary and extremely silly like that, and also super serious. So anyways, one of the phrases that my name was equivalent to was the heaven of Jupiter. And I really, really like that because I've done a lot of Jupiter magic over the years and meditated a lot on Jupiterian symbols and thunderstorms and lightning and peacock feathers and the color blue and the number 4 as these keys or entrances into prosperity and sovereignty. And I feel like I've understood it. I feel like I've paid enough attention. And I mean, there's always more to understand, but I feel like I really got something at a deep level that those symbols are trying to teach. And now I'm trying to teach that to other people. And there's this way that Jupiter is not only connected with wealth, but Jupiter is about philosophy and higher learning. And I was just so tickled the other day when I found out that there was a group of philosophy students that really liked my stuff. And they have a whole little name for their philosophy. The post-rationalist.
The secret underground Carolyn Elliott lovers.
I just love that. So the heaven of Jupiter. So in the state of overflow, I feel like I'm in the heaven of Jupiter. And I feel like I have so much, and I'm very excited to make more and share more. But there is sometimes this challenge of, I feel like the shadow of it is the question of wastefulness. Because when I had no money or very little, I was so aware of everything that I bought and everything that I spent and everything. And now that I have this gorgeous fountain flowing through me, I hardly know what's happening. I just know that it keeps pumping really strong, even when I don't pay minute attention to like expenditures. So I just like kind of let it flow and it works fine. But sometimes there's like an overaccumulation of things, or just the fact that like we can afford to order takeout so often. And the takeout boxes. And I'm like, oh, Lordy Christ. I'm like personally creating the world's plastic stockpiles. So there's like that element of the shadow of waste that accompanies a lot of bounty. And because I do my best to try to make sure that things are some kind of reasonable level of balance, but it's challenging. It's like, you're trying to drink from a fire hose of bounty. And it's like, wow, that's a lot to clean up.
So you're talking about waste, and another negative term I've heard you use for yourself is being lazy. Some people would interpret that as a negative thing. Do you think that is really true? Are you actually a lazy entrepreneur, or is this some sort of superpower of yours?
Is it actually true? It's probably not actually true.
When I started working with Carolyn, it was her and one part-time virtual assistant. and I can't remember what annual revenue you're at, but you're at high multiple six figures. In my opinion, like not the best branded website, barely any funnels.
Terrible.
Like it wasn't like a lot of people get into business and they do a lot of stuff because they're afraid to do the harder things or the more uncomfortable things. So they'll like work on their branding, work on their website, work on their funnels instead of like actually like selling to people.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got the impression that you were just doing enough to be successful at the level of success you wanted to be, and all of the other stuff really didn't matter.
I was doing the stuff to be successful at the level that I wanted to be. Yeah, I mean, I guess it definitely mattered to me more to teach the stuff than it did to have everything perfect. I guess maybe that's why I came to see myself as lazy, because I just could not be bothered to try to get something. I would be like, I don't know how websites and graphics work, and I don't fucking care. I'm a writer. I'm going to write some stuff.
Yeah.
If people like it, they can come on down. And if they don't like it, I guess they can go to somebody who has more attractive websites. But I think that was just my attitude. It was just sort of like this fuck it attitude of, well, I'm never going to do it otherwise. So I just have to kind of wear the old ugly dress to the prom. Mm-hmm. But what were we talking about, Sam? What was that all in response to about business and spirituality and magic?
Well, I kind of was just curious about the point of you talking about yourself as if you were lazy. And I was wondering if it was actually true. Cause I mean, we're across the world from each other. So like, I don't know how much you actually work. You just show up and like deliver all of this amazing writing. It was more of like a personal curious question. And also I think a potential lesson to people: do the stuff that actually matters and don't worry about the rest.
I would say that I'm leisure oriented. I'm not actually lazy. So I like to feel leisurely no matter what I'm doing, and I will fiercely defend my leisurely feelings. Mm-hmm. So, working from home, I'm very into feeling super cozy while I work, having everything be super pretty and smell good and have my favorite foods, all of these little things. I don't like work that feels like work. I know that. Mm-hmm. I like it when it feels like it's drawing on my creativity. I guess the short answer is I don't think I'm actually lazy. That's just sort of a way that I make fun of myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, in a way that you've given yourself permission just to keep moving forward without anything being perfect. Except you probably are a bit of a perfectionist with writing, aren't you?
Yeah, I am with the writing, but I feel like it's fairly healthy with the writing. I'm told that I'm a hard taskmaster. There's people that I've collaborated on writing courses with, and I've edited their writing, and they've learned a lot about themselves. Personally.
This is absolutely something I wanted to talk with you about, because I've been thinking about distillation a lot, this process of distilling something down to a more potent essence. And I see that you are so good at this with writing. And I'm sure your starting writing is probably incredible too. But I feel like what you write is just distilled into such potent medicine, a life-changing substance for someone. Can you talk about that process?
Sam. Wow, what an amazing question. Wait, what is the process of distillation?
Yeah, for you, what is that distilling your writing into this potent medicine for people?
Well, honestly, I think a lot of it these days happens internally. So this is maybe another reason why I tease myself about being lazy, is because actually a lot of the work that I do that results in the writing and the teaching that I'm able to accomplish comes from just when I'm laying quietly in a room, paying attention to my feelings and trying to feel them as fully as I can, whether in a kinky way or just present way. And from that come to mind specific images and specific myths and stories and words. So I feel like when I'm writing, when I'm trying to convey ideas, I just need to go to where I've already been, astrally, I suppose. Yes, that's right. I'm quite active astrally. That's how we'll explain that. So yeah, I'm always curious. I feel like I have this stubborn a priori assumption that it should be possible to feel extremely happy and blissful all the time. So even in the midst of deep torment. I just somehow believe that. So whenever I don't feel happy, I get really, really suspicious, and I feel like there's some kind of con going on here. And I get really curious about it, and I observe myself, and I observe my mind and the culture. Anyways, and it seems to weave together in a good way. So I guess the internal distillation that I'm trying to talk about, I guess, comes through being really hungry to know the full truth that might lead to a loving, blissful state, and being willing to try to dissolve anything or just be suspicious of things that don't seem to support or invite that state.
So once you get to the paper, it's pretty much already distilled.
I feel like it is. Yeah, I feel like with writing, the trickiest thing for me is just deciding what I'm going to, like the topic. Like, okay, I'm going to write this email, I'm going to write this post. What's the topic going to be? Once I decide, it comes. And I think it's also, this is something that Dave Burns and I have in common, where I feel like we're almost gross twins about it, which is that we're both like really fixated and fascinated by paradox. And by the way that if you can hold a paradox, if you can hold two seemingly opposite things as equally true and equally valid at the same time, then what you do is you activate this third level of awareness that I think Jung would call it the transcendent function, which is also the self with a capital S. It's the part of us that can see from a different dimension and reconcile things at that other dimension. So I think spending time internally, really dwelling with paradox, it's a great foundation for creativity because there's so many creative ways to express paradoxes.
Do you have any favorite paradoxes?
Oh my goodness, yes. The first place that I really learned about paradox was reading Soren Kierkegaard, Fear and Trembling. I was on this whole thing in grad school where I was reading existentialists. So I was reading Kierkegaard, I was reading Sartre, I was reading Georges Bataille, I was reading Camus, I was reading a lot of Heidegger and Nietzsche. So yeah, those were the existentialists. And of course, Kierkegaard was the Christian existentialist. And I consider myself a Christian to this day. I also simultaneously consider myself a Buddhist and a Hermeticist and a heretic. So I have a heretical Christianity, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I learned it in part from Soren Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard talked about the paradox of Christ being simultaneously totally mortal, completely like you and me, utterly mundane, and simultaneously being the totality of all divinity that has ever created the universe, simultaneously completely an omniscient, omnipotent, all-knowing God, and immortal at once. So how could that be true? It's the very idea is offensive. It was offensive to Jewish people. It was very offensive to Greek people at the time. It's the sort of idea that, you know, if you run into somebody who's claiming that and they're claiming it seriously and they won't let it go, you know, they get sent to mental institutions. You're not going to get any respect from anybody claiming that. It's an insane thing to claim. And it's also, you know, deeply beautiful and mysterious. I'm sorry. If I keep rambling about Kierkegaard, it will go on and on. But he introduced me to paradox. And so this paradox of Christ was the first thing that I read about that really touched my soul in regards to Christianity and made me feel some of that awesome power that holding a paradox can bring, because I really held that in my heart, the fullness of both of those truths. And that's mainly what I continue to do today. It's relatively simple to say, but it's not easy. I just practice holding two things at once and see what happens.
Would you say that your entire existential kink process is a paradox in some ways?
Oh, 1000%, completely. It's the paradox of pleasure and pain. Like, how can something be totally painful and totally pleasurable at once?
So for the sake of listeners who have no idea what existential kink is, do you have a spiel?
I've sort of developed one. Let's see. Here we go. Existential kink is a form of meditation and a life attitude that involves practicing taking pleasure in the things in life that one ordinarily experiences as frustrating or painful, especially repeated situations. It's inspired by BDSM, as practiced in dungeons and bedrooms around the world, where people make agreements and come up with safe words and decide who's going to be what role, and experience playing with dynamics of power and sensation in a fashion that they might not enjoy if it just spontaneously happened in their regular life, but they give themselves a container and a time and a set of agreements in which to open themselves up to finding pleasure in this stuff. So basically, existential kink is a meditation in which I set aside some time to feel into situations in my life that I don't like. And I practice giving myself permission to really, really feel whatever forbidden, taboo, unconscious pleasure might be lurking somewhere in my body in connection to this thing. And not just pleasure, but desire. So the vibration of desire and like finding a desire, finding a yearning, and then accepting that it's being met is a very deep way to learn about the interconnection, the interrelation between inner and outer experience. So if you can touch your desire for even a very dark, forbidden, taboo, even seemingly destructive element of your life, if you can find a desire in yourself for it, a pleasurable desire, and touch that, you can set off a resonance. You can liberate energy, psychic energy that's been trapped in recreating painful patterns in your life, limitations, frustrations, situations of lack that we unconsciously create. I may be getting off the official spiel.
Something I just wanted to touch on is I had been doing shadow work for years before finding your work. And in a lot of senses, it just feels like a more badass, more effective version of shadow work. You're taking on things that you find taboo and uncomfortable and situations you don't like in your life. And instead of just accepting them, or like going and finding the part of yourself that needs to be healed through it, it's like, no, instead we're just going to get turned on by it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Sam. Sam put it so well. She got to the heart of the matter. That's what it's all about, is just letting myself feel turned on about everything in my experience. Yes.
The other side of this that you explained in a way that's like, you look at it and you're like, oh, this is so obvious, but I never would have come up with it myself, is the concept of solve et coagula. I could be pronouncing that completely wrong, and that's okay.
You're good. Solve et coagula. Yeah, so this is an idea. So on one day, after having come up with existential kink, I was sort of pondering its relationship to alchemy. And it became really clear to me that existential kink has this amazing quality. I consider it primarily a solve process, which is it's a process that can dissolve stuck psychic patterns. So one of the main ideas in alchemy is to make the volatile fixed and the fixed volatile. So if we're thinking about what's fixed in ourselves, it's usually our levels of how much good stuff we're willing to receive. We have certain levels of homeostasis for this that are very fixed. So like, I'll let in a fixed amount of praise. I'll let in a fixed amount of intimacy with my partner. And we have these little fixations. And we're all walking around, and some of us, have varying shapes to it, but all of us have these limits. So what solve work is about dissolving those knots, those limiting levels that we have to how much awesome stuff we will let ourselves receive before we get afraid, before we get anxious, before we pick fights, before we basically before it gets too intense for us to stay fully rational, in the moment, present with. So, and then coagula is when we're taking the energy that's been liberated from the old situation and we're putting it into creating a new pattern, a new blossoming. So coagula work I tend to associate with things like making talismans in planetary magic, things like collages, vision boards, doing visualizations of what we want to happen, doing affirmations, all of that, like classic law of attraction, chaos magic, traditional magic, arts and crafts kind of stuff is what I consider coagula. And I think the problem with the teachings about magic in the popular imagination for maybe about the past 100 years is that they've overemphasized the coagula part and not emphasized the solve nearly enough, because they're equally necessary. And the solve can be a lot harder to do. So, so for example, psychoanalysis, and to analyze something means to take it apart, means to dissolve it. So what Freud and Jung were trying to do was dissolve fixed, stuck, maladaptive patterns in the psyche, and then sort of turn them into goo and let them come back into a more wholesome formation.
And even in today, it's like you see a lot of people finding more standard self-help gurus, or I guess teachers, I shouldn't say gurus. And they teach a lot of the coagula stuff, and some of them might teach some solve work. But if most people follow their teachings, they won't get very far, because there's a lot under the surface that they need to deal with. So maybe some of them will go and find shadow work. But yours was the first that really showed that there needs to be a balance between the two, and made me understand that they're actually working together and they empower each other. And I just loved it so much.
Oh, Sam, thank you. I'm so glad. Yeah, well, it took me a while to figure it out. So once I figured it out, I was like, hey, everybody better know this.
That's so good. So I did ask some people and some people you don't know if they had any questions for you that they would love me to ask. So I want to jump into a couple of those. One of them is from Alina, who you do know.
Yeah.
And she was wondering how you handle critical internal voices, or just the mornings that you wake up and you're like, I don't know if I feel like I have time or I have it in me to do what's actually on my plate and what it needs to get done today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I do have an answer for that. I do have something I use, which is just my bodhisattva vow. So I took a vow. It goes, beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to exhaust them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to pass through them. The awake way is supreme. I vow to embody it. So a lot of times when I don't like, when I feel like the work that I've done isn't good enough and I'm being mean to myself about it, or I've disappointed somebody, or I'm just like feeling gross when I wake up in the morning and I don't want to do anything, I remember that vow because I made that vow when I was like very, very deep, dark, suicidally depressed, and it was the thing that opened me up and gave me strength, gave me the magic, gave me the power to believe that my actions could be meaningful for others and could really bring them out of maybe similar dark places or other kinds of stuck places. And so when I don't feel like doing anything, or I feel like what I'm doing isn't good enough, I try to remember that, well, it's actually not for me, and it's for this greater thing that I'm attempting to serve and that saved my life.
So something that's been on my mind this last week, so I turned 30, which of course meant I had to reflect on all of my 20s, because as you do, as you change decades. And it made me really sad in some ways. I was really, really horrible to myself internally, of like a lot of people, they'll deal with depression, or they'll deal with anxiety, or whatever sort of mental health issue they're dealing with. And but then also just people not learning how to be nice to themselves. And it made me really sad, but also made me really proud that I was like, I now consider myself a successful business owner doing good work in the world. And I did that all through like different periods of being on a fucked up brain. And I would love to, because a lot of on the internet, a lot of people talk about how beautiful their life is and how like, oh, I'm through it and over it. But I don't think enough people talk about like holding the paradox of being successful while also not having all their shit together, and there being issues and life drama and all of that jazz.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The hot stuff.
Did you build your business while you were still dealing with some really fucked up shit?
Oh, massively. Oh my goodness, yes. Where to even begin? Let's just say I have intimacy issues. And like when my love magic worked and my love magic started to work right around the time my business started to get a bit bigger, and I met Taia and we fell in love and everything that I ever wanted came true. Then I had to deal with having everything I ever wanted come true, and that was very hard for me. For a while it was just like really intense, and it's still a process of like learning how to accept so much bounty without getting paranoid, because that's what having this level trip out is. It's like you get paranoid. It's like things are really great, and then you imagine that they're not, and you imagine it very vividly, and you sort of like throw a fit about it. At least I do. And the trick with it is like basically like gradually learning to be less and less paranoid, which is, you know, an interesting challenge because paranoia creates its own reality tunnels. And so it's like learning how to come out of those tunnels for me really takes like crazy, gross levels of willingness to give crazy, gross, unconditional love to things. But anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, how messed up I was.
Okay, or maybe we can channel this into affirming to people that even if they're in a messed up spot, they can still grow their business or continue to grow their business. Like, it doesn't mean you're a fraud. It doesn't mean whatever.
No, it doesn't mean you're a fraud. It means you are a precisely complex, wonderful being like we all are. And it's totally glorious to, be doing the battle with these dark things that we've all inherited while you work in positive directions for things you really believe in. Absolutely.
So another question a friend sent me was wondering if you use astrology personally on a daily basis and or in your business decisions. And I know the answer to this, but I want to hear it from you.
1000%. Yes. Whenever I have a bad mood, there must be an astrological explanation. And the only thing that makes me feel better is spending like 20 minutes reading all the astrology blogs until I can find something where I'm like, yes, there it is. Mars is squaring Saturn, and that is why I am so mad.
How do you balance the I don't know if it's a belief, but like believing that a lot of stuff is just coming from our own internal workings, where I can also blame it on the astrology of the moment.
They're the same, Sam. They're as above, so below, as within, so without. The planets just symbolize where things are moving in the collective unconscious. So you look at your transits and your birth chart represents your psyche. Well, more accurately, I guess your progressed chart represents the state of your psyche. And then you look at the transits, and the transits like, sort of what the times are doing, the present moment is doing. And then how they interact, that's consciousness. That's the dance of consciousness itself. So it's completely the same.
I agree. Yes, what she said. Yes. So it's a final couple of questions. What advice would you have for someone who's just starting off in creating a magical business that they hope will bring a comfortable living for themselves?
Yeah. I think my first piece of advice is to find out, what are some qualities you have that you are deeply ashamed of? As in, what qualities do you have that when other people point them out to you, you feel like you want to disappear and like you want to argue with them and make it not true or whatever, but you kind of know it is true. Those qualities, I suggest deciding to just wear them on your sleeve and just completely shamelessly rejoice in them however they are. And yeah, and one way you can do this is you can find out what 3 characters in novels or movies or TV shows combined would add up to you. So how could you express that flavor that's unique to you through these other parts? And this is part of what I like to call creating a page turner persona, which is where you deliberately integrate parts of yourself that you've previously been not in approval of and specifically make them a part of your public persona. And I recommend this because it liberates energy, and you need a whole lot of energy to start and run a business.
And then what advice do you have for someone who is trying to scale to multiple 6 figures or 7 figures?
Do a lot of magic, specifically. Jupiterian magic, Mercurial magic. I think what helped me get to 7 figures, I know what helped me get to 7 figures was Taia and I did this ritual invoking our holy guardian angel, and we immediately had the experience of this is a whole big story, but we previously knew Dave and Carolyn. So we're very good friends with Dave Burns and Carolyn Burns, and my husband Tai's birth name is David. So we're 2 pairs of Dave and Carolyn's. And so we kind of synchronously connected after Taia and I did this invoking ritual. And very soon I realized that Dave and Carolyn were like talking to us sort of like as our higher selves. Like they were like these voices, these like literally other parts of ourselves with the same fucking names. And
do you still feel that way?
I do still feel that way.
Oh,
I 1000% feel that way. And they know that. I tell them that all the time. And so we started doing these collaborations, and Dave Burns and Carolyn Burns are both absolute geniuses. And we started doing these collaborations that were so fun and taught me so much and helped my business flourish, helped me meet you, Sam, right? You came into the money course, which I did with Dave Burns, and that's how I met you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and your help has been such an excellent help.
But what advice do you have? Because I'm imagining not everyone's
the advice is you have to do magic. It's very simple, practical advice, Sam. No. Simple, practical advice is, okay, take a lot of acid, go out into the woods, So you need about 3 tabs of
Oh
acid,
my
and you
gosh.
need to go out into some very nice woods, um, and be safe and responsible with everything. And you need to do an invocation. So I recommend doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, followed by chanting Abraxas. So Abraxas is the Gnostic, Hermetic name of the deity of this planet. It's an astrological formula that it specifically expresses the spirit that's in charge in earthly affairs. So, and it's a number of wholeness. It adds up to 365 in gematria. So you chant Abraxas a whole bunch. And any other devotional poetry or some such that you would want to call out to your higher self. And then while you trip on acid, you just continue talking to your angel and perceiving messages from them and getting guidance. And good idea to have a fire, a nice solar fire, and speak your intentions and your dreams into that fire. Very in lots of detail, and speak a lot of honor about your ancestors, because the more you can honor your ancestors who are part of your deep self and deep unconscious, the more energy and power you can liberate yourself for yourself in the present. So do that, and then what's going to happen in about a month or two, maybe sooner, maybe a little longer, is you're going to have some very interesting things show up in your life. Very wondrous, very eerie. And what you need to do with these wondrous, eerie, fun things is say yes to them and welcome them and delight in them and know that you magicked them in and trust them because they're part of your power, your intention, and your fulfillment. And then your business will grow to 7 figures because you'll have a fun fairy story like I have about Dave and Carolyn Burns.
The Carolyn Elliott system for a 7-figure business. Is this what we just got?
Yeah.
Next book. Oh, I love it.
You think people would buy it, Sam? What would we call it? We call it the Carolyn Elliott system for a 7-figure business.
The first chapter would have to be like disclosure statement. So good. Oh my gosh. Well, awesome.
Would people buy it, Sam? Would they? Would they want it?
I think we would have to come up with a catchier title. You're good at coming up with catchy titles, but like absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Carolyn, for your time, for your presence, for all of your magical advice and systems. I really appreciate you being here and sharing all of that.
Oh, thank you, Sam, for asking me and for listening to me. And thank you, everybody at home, for listening to my far out ideas. I think if you try them, you'll like them.
Do you have any final messages that you would love to share?
Yes, just that our wealth program is open for application and or will be open from September 21st to the 28th. And I want to invite you to apply and to join Wealth, which is an alchemical community where leaders come into their full power through the Hermetic arts. And there's 3 different core elements to Wealth. We have a set of 3 foundational practices that we all do. We have a degree system based on the major arcana of the tarot that members rise up through, like a colored belts system in a martial arts dojo. We have a grand mission and a purpose to create a magical renaissance of helping everybody achieve the alchemical marriage of the union of the conscious and the unconscious. And our members regularly experience, major increases, like they double, they triple their income. We had one lady quadruple her income recently. People experience renaissances in their love lives, in their creative lives. Basically, we unleash energy in wealth, and we learn how to direct it and wield it really wisely based in the Western esoteric tradition. So Kabbalah, astrology, tarot, ritual magic, a lot of Jungian perspective woven in, but also based in purely magical tradition. And we have amazing social events. So we have these events called power-ups that are all about letting people be seen, felt, heard in all their badness and sexuality and hotness and wrongness and evilness and all of the great stuff. And we have gift circles where people go around in a circle and they say what they want to receive, and then they say what they want to give, and then they make connections. So people give all sorts of amazing things like coaching sessions, tarot readings, astrology readings, all sorts of just deep listening. And they send things like books and crystals and herbs, and there's just this beautiful gift exchange that we have as a way to meet each other and as a way to support each other and as a way to basically weave our community together around the world, because wealth is designed not just to be an online membership, but it's really meant to be the foundation of something that evolves into an in-person society, an in-person culture. It's tough to do that right now with the pandemic, but that's part of our intention, and that evolves into a movement that changes the path of consciousness on the planet Earth for the coming few thousands of years. And I know that that sounds very grand and impossible, but I don't think it is. I think that there's the kind of technologies of integration that we use in wealth and the sort of distillations is a great word, the distillations of magic that we have to share with each other are very kind of potent new technologies, in the same way that literacy was a new technology back in Sumer in 3500 BC when literacy first started appearing. It appeared also in China and Mesoamerica and other places, Egypt, at different times, seemingly independently. But anyways, when it first appeared and before it spread, it was just a small amount of people that understood writing and reading and the sort of the mysteries of it. And these mysteries gradually became more widely known, and they changed our whole relationship to experience and our whole ability to transmit information. And computer technology would not be possible if writing had not been first invented. All of this far out stuff that sprang from this alteration in perception of meaning. So an alteration in perception of meaning, that's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm interested in first helping a few thousand people to have, and then the number will spread. So if you want to be part of the new Aeon and get in on the ground floor, come apply and join us in wealth. Boy, I think I may have been rambling a little bit there, Sam. How are we?
No, that was great. You just slipped a lesson in there. So if you're listening to this before September 28th, you can go to carolyngraceelliott.com/wealth. We'll also link to that in the show notes. And then after that, you can get on the wait list for the next time it opens up through that same link. So everyone go check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. Also check out Carolyn's book, Existential Kink, which is anywhere books are sold. Yeah, exciting.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, awesome. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Carolyn, for being here. And we'll see you all next week.